Carrie Geren Scoggins Political Newsletter, Bible Prophecy Times Edition Update. Socialism breeds racism. We know this from Nazi Germany, the biggest socialist government in the history of mankind. They supported Karl Marx. The German government gave out Karl Marx's books such as Das Kapital to the German citizens, paid for on their tax money. They had ever-growing, bigger and bigger leftist socialist government, which was inevitable that it would collapse. Socialism does not work. When the socialism failed, they had so propagandized themselves with liberal, leftist brainwashing and propaganda, they refused to blame the socialism for their failed government. Instead, they blamed the minorities. They blamed immigrants and racial minorities within Germany for the failed socialism. They had the false idea that if it were only the Caucasian race, that the socialism would thrive because everyone would be pulling their weight. They even named these poor minorities and the disabled as useless eaters. This is what socialism breeds: contempt. Socialism will fail. It always does, historically in every nation that brought socialism in. Many of the liberal Democrat leftists in the United States that support socialism have used the European countries and nations such as Canada to justify large socialism and socialized medicine without telling the truth. The only reason those nations prospered was because the United States were bailing them out with billions of dollars per nation every year since after World War II. Their socialism had failed long ago, and the United States citizens, the taxpayers, were footing the bill to bail these socialist nations out, keeping all of the nations in the EU and other nations such as Canada and the Middle East from going totally belly up and into starvation. They owed. The National Socialist Party of Nazi Germany had grown so big, so intrusive, and so to the point of providing everything for their people on taxpayer money, it was inevitable, again as I said, for it to go belly up. They were even providing a car for their people, Volkswagen, the people's car. It became fascism as the large socialist government had made so much provision for their people on taxpayer money that they could not provide these services through the government and had to incorporate large corporations intertwined with big socialism. In order to create fascism, one must first have socialism and then bring large corporations into the government, intertwining them with that socialism. This is what creates fascism. And, of course, they had large federal police forces on a national scale, which our founding fathers stood against, saying keeping the police force on a local level prevents tyranny. 1/3 of the population of Germany worked for the government as an informant, called the Stasi, bankrupting the system. Greed was at the root of over-policing the nation. When you have that many informants, there's not enough criminals to police, and they begin harassing people over political and religious beliefs. We see this in the United States right now. Just the NSA spent $74 billion in 1 year over-policing the United States. That was matched by every federal office in the United States, over-policing the citizens, and it has become an attack on the religious right, the Republicans, and the Tea Party, as the Obama administration has already admitted to using the IRS and the NSA to stalk down their political opposition. This is closely akin to what Hitler did in Nazi Germany. Used the large federal police forces to go after his political and religious opposition. It is closely akin because it is born from Marxism. It was Obama who quoted Karl Marx's Das Kapital in, quote, redistribution of the wealth. The same person that Adolf Hitler quoted often and demanded that every German citizen be given copies of Karl Marx's books, such as Das Kapital. When the Marxist socialism in the United States fails and goes bankrupt, as every socialist nation throughout history has, make sure that the racial minorities, immigrants, and the disabled are not scapegoated for being the blame for the financial, economic collapse that socialism will bring here in the U.S. But rather make sure that the Marxist socialism takes the blame, and those that are in the Democratic Party that wanted this truth censored out of history in their revisionist history project throughout our school system, that they themselves take the blame. They refused to hear the truth, and they did not want the rest of the nation to hear this in order to prevent it. History only repeats itself when revisionist history is at work. If the truth is passed on to the next generation, history will not repeat itself. In Democrat revisionist history, Nazi Germany was a political left movement of big socialism, the National Socialist Party. It was not a right-wing movement. That is political revisionist history and Democrat propaganda in our public schools. In order to create fascism, one must first have big socialism, so big that they intertwine large corporations into the socialist government, which creates fascism. This is big leftist totalitarian government. It is not right-wing, it is not Thomas Jefferson, it's Karl Marx. Again, keep in mind when you vote how close the Democratic Party platform is that of the Nazi Party, the National Socialist Party of Nazi Germany. Both supported large socialism, many social programs bankrupting the system. They also supported large federal police forces, such the Democratic Party has supported here in the United States. Ending, of course, in the scandal we've seen in Obamagate, where the NSA, IRS, and other federal offices were used to stalk down and harass the Christian political religious right and all the Democratic Party's opposition, such as the Republicans and the Tea Party activists. Again, much akin to what the Nazi Party and the National Socialist Party of Nazi Germany did to the Christians and Jews who were the conservatives in their nation, being stalked down by the government informants called the Stasi in Nazi Germany, just as the informants here in the United States were used to over-police and harass the Christians, the religious right, the Republicans, and the Tea Party. Moving on, other aspects of the Democratic Party platform that are much akin to that of the Nazi Party platform is the environmentalism, what we call the religious left, the New Age anti-Christian movement, this all paths lead to God, bring in paganism, and throw out the Bible, having big Bible burnings in Nazi Germany. That anti-Christian hate is brewing from the Democrats and the leftists here in the United States as we speak. A big New Age anti-Christian movement, just as we see in the Democratic Party and the leftism here in the United States. Other aspects of big government seen in Nazi Germany here in the United States is the over-policing. Do we really need $74 billion just for the National Security Agency to watch United States citizens? And that matched by every federal office stalking down the American public? Big leftist police forces on a national level? That's Marxism. Our founding fathers called for policing only on a local level to prevent tyranny in government. It was Nazi Germany that had large national police forces ending in tyranny and ending in informants stalking down their general public. Keeping in mind, when there's not enough criminals to police, there's more law enforcement and informants than there are criminals, they began to move in and harass people over politics and religion, just like they're doing in the United States right now, again closely akin to what the Nazi Party did to the Christians and Jews and the conservatives that did not support the big socialism in Nazi Germany. Keep this in mind when you vote. This has been another edition of Carrie, Geren, Scoggins Political Newsletter Bible Prophecy Times Edition Update. Look for more information, Carrie, Geren, Scoggins Political Newsletter and Carrie, Geren, Scoggins Political Newsletter Bible Prophecy Times Edition, Facebook pages and bloggers.